Now when you pick up this instrument, how do I describe it? It is a stainless steel instrument. That's a make. I mean that's the metal, okay? Which has got rings at the back, ratchets here, and a blade or two blades with serrations. That is simple. Now, can you do without mentioning it? You can. You can simply say it's an artery forceps. That is also fine. But the disadvantage is there'll be other instruments where you'll do the same thing and it will be a mistake. Because you can describe the instrument better. This is a instrument with two rings at the back, transverse serrations, and a box joint. Now the joints can be box or screw joints. If you want to see a screw joint, I'll show you some other instrument. They've lost a few others. It's not the same set that I've made. This is a screw joint, which has got a screw. Simple as that. What is the disadvantage of a screw joint? A thread may get entangled. So this is an advancement over a classical or ordinary screw joint. It is a smooth joint, so the things can slide over it without any problem. Now a word about, this is an artery forceps, which is also called as a hemostat, which is also called as a clip. So there are three names. It's called artery forceps world over, hemostat world over, clip especially in US. So they, just clip it, just clip the vessel. This is the term they use. So that's the American description of it. But it's the same joint. There's no problem. Now, when you talk about the name of this, you'll keep having some confusion because it's Wells, but Wells, this is not Wells, it's made in Chandni Chowk, so it can't be the same. So don't give it a name. Now what do we call it? We'll call it based on the size. So this is slightly larger than the other artery forceps I'm holding, and there's one which is even larger. So this would be a medium sized artery forceps. So keep it simple. Don't try to give it a name. It's not needed. Now what are the characteristics? Why rings at the back? The rings at the back are for a grip. And the idea is your thumb should just about enter and the ring finger should just about enter. So it's just about distal to the interphalangeal joint, terminal interphalangeal joint of the thumb and the ring finger. If you go too far in, you get locked with the instrument. So when the instrument moves, you move. So now who's controlling whom? Instrument is controlling you. What is supposed to be the situation? I should be controlling the instrument. So it should be just about distal to the terminal interphalangeal joint. That's it. It's simple as that. So that's my classical way for holding it. So if I have to hold it the classical way, I'll just hold it in this position. Now there are ratchets at the back which are more than one. You can see that. The fact that more than one, you need to use only one. If there was Can you close it? Please. Otherwise they won't be keeping. Why they got two? This is the common question asked in the exam. Because one is enough. So why have two? I can't be just closed. When they come in, everybody closes the door when he walks. Now, the fact there are two, you're supposed to use only one. Now what do I do if I have two? Can I start with two? Then why do we have two? That's a question. Look, this is to lock the instrument. The ratchet would lock it like this. It's locked. It's firmly holding. And I've just put one. I can put two also. But just look at the serrations here. They're transverse serrations. Transverse means they're going across. So the transverse serrations have a better grip. They are also more traumatic. So they hold but bite as well. Therefore, wherever there is an instrument with transverse serrations, be clear in your head that it will be crushing and it will be damaging. And one of the most important causes of post-operative wound infection is too much of tied, too much of dead, too much of burnt tissue inside. Because that becomes a nidus for infection. So therefore we are supposed to use only one. So if I am using one, why should I have two? That was the question. Now it gets answered as you move to the needle holder. It has only one. It can also have 3, 4, 5. There is a smaller needle holder also, which is not here. I'll see if I can show you some other time. The fact that there are more than one ratchet please close the door. Now, I was discussing why should we have more than one. You have more than one because over a period of time, you would lose the strength of the grip with one. It's akin to the 32 teeth that you have. You need 4 to bite and another 4 to chew. So why have 32? Why have 32? It is to ensure that even if you drop one each year, at 60 also you'll have a few left. So it will last that long. Same logic here. Therefore, what should be done? Never use both the ratchets in one grip. Why? Because your instrument would die off early and you will cause trauma. Is that clear? Therefore, there are more than one ratchet. This is to accommodate for the age of the instrument. Am I clear? So I am repeating. You get this instrument and sir, can you close the door when you get in? You just came in standing there as if somebody else will follow you and close the door. Now, this is any more to come? Can you bolt it? No, I am not interested. They can have only forever, but is there any more person coming or we bolt it? No, that's okay, but then one person takes care of that door getting bolted. Please, can you take care of that? Yeah, okay. Now, so I'm repeating, it's a stainless steel instrument with 2 rings at the back, ratchets, which are more than one. The fact they're more than one, we need to use only one. With a box joint which prevents holding and the threads getting stuck, and it has got transverse serration with the blade which makes it a traumatic instrument. The grip is good, but it will traumatize. So do not hold anything vital with this. You don't hold skin with this, you don't hold a vessel with this unless it is going. So anything that is going to stay in the body should not be crushed with this, because dead tissue is the cause of infection subsequently. Right? There are 3 sizes available. This is the medium size, we got a smaller one. I'll come to that. And this is straight. This is called a hemostat or a clip or an artery forceps, medium sized. That's the instrument. Now, since I mentioned, there is a straight one, give it to me, and there is a curved one. It's slightly different in size, but it should fit into the same medium sized curved artery forceps. Can you see that? Almost similar. 2 rings at the back, ratchets, stainless steel instrument with box joint, with 2 blades with transverse serrations, makes it a traumatic instrument, but there is curvature. Now, why should we have a curvature? The curvature is to ensure that you are able to see the tip when you're tying. In surgery, the principle is tie what you see and see what you tie. Cut what you see and see what you cut. Most disasters happen when this rule is not followed. What is the rule?
Tie what you see, cut what you see.
Exactly. And that would be possible only if you have curvature. That's why there is curvature. So don't be lost when you're asked a question. There is a reason. Therefore, in the depth, I'll use curved instrument. The second, which is relative advantage, not a great role to play, is that it can go along the cavities nicely. And third, you can feed a suture with this. With the curvature, there is space there for the instrument to take the thread. So curvature has the basic advantage of showing you the tip. One. Number two, so you can tie what you see and you can see what you tie. The same would apply to the scissors, we'll go there. But it is curved, so the advantages are you can be using it in the depth. A straight forceps cannot be used in the depth because you cannot see the
tip.
The straight artery forceps can be used only on the surface. This is also an artery forceps or a hemostat, medium sized. Okay, is that clear? This is clear? So both are similar. They're medium sized. Straight, curved. Advantages, disadvantages I've already discussed. Now there is a smaller instrument which is exactly looking like the older cousins if you look at it. Rings at the back, ratchets, it will be repeated the same way. It's a stainless steel instrument with box joint, with transfer serration with the blades, which makes it a traumatic instrument, but it is small in size. And I'll hold it like I showed you. So there is no difference in what I earlier mentioned. It is called a mosquito forceps, just because it is smaller. It has nothing to do with the mosquito. Common answer given by most people is it can catch the mustache of a mosquito or it can catch the wings of the mosquito. That's all ridiculous. You could have well given it a name, housefly. It's okay. That sounds a little tricky, so people like mosquito. Okay, easier. So it's called mosquito because if you are operating and you're asking from the scrub nurse for an instrument, you ask one, she shows you the other one, you should know that one, that will be chaos. That's why a name has been given. So mosquito is simply because of the size. I got the funniest answer I got was I keep repeating it, was in Dhaka. I was doing a workshop for the Royal College. And the answer was that when it's catching something, it looks like a mosquito sitting in water, which is brilliant actually. To me also it looks like the mosquito sitting in water. But that's not true. It's got nothing to do with it. It's just that it is small in size. The rest of the functions are just the same. Where would you use it? You'll use it where the vessels are smaller. And you can grasp it. It is traumatic. Anything with transverse serrations is traumatic. I can show you something which has got longitudinal serrations. Hopefully it's there. This is it. I'm not coming to the instrument, but you can see these are the longitudinal serrations, which makes it relatively less traumatic. Everything is traumatic. See? They're longitudinal. Transverse would hold it firmly, but at the cost of trauma. This is minimal trauma, but the grip is also poor. It's used in bowel. It's a bowel clamp. And you can see some daylight through it also. So there's a bit of space, so it won't crush. But you can't use the artery forceps or hemostat on a bowel. That is the difference. This is why you should understand what you're talking. So artery forceps are all covered. If you get a longer one, which you may, just call it a long hemostat. Don't get into any confusion. Don't need to give it any name. It is not required. I can repeat it, it's not required. Don't bother about beds and bomb, the names of Steelies, Spencer Wells, which is what the medium-sized artery forceps is. This is Spencer Wells. It is not Spencer Wells. And if somebody is insisting, say, sir, this is not Spencer Wells. I have seen it being made anywhere in the country. You can see it anywhere. Beds and bomb is the company's name. You can't get beds and bomb here. So, names have disappeared now. It's a medium-sized hemostat. So I'll pick it up. I'm given this instrument in the exam, I'll look at it. I know the name, but don't just come out. Take time on this, okay, and then open it. It's a stainless steel instrument with rings at the back, ratchets here, more than one, therefore I should use one. Box joint, transfer serration in the blade, which makes it traumatic. It is curved, therefore I can see the tip as I'm tying. You're scoring. And I'll introduce my thumb and index finger to get it. I have taken 30 seconds. And I've got all the marks that the instrument can give. You pick it up, Sir, artery forceps. Okay. Second. Sir, scissor. Second. Third. Get lost. Well, that's what I do. Okay. 2 marks. When a student starts with one instrument, describes it properly, he doesn't have to do anything else. Otherwise, the routine run-of-the-mill blighter comes, you're over. Because you don't want to waste time with such people. You know, I have to give 1 mark or 2 marks anyway. Why exert? You understand the examiner psyche? Having examined for years together, I am telling you. The moment the patient says, then the candidate says, it is this, I'm interested. That's the hemostat. Let's move on. I'm going as they are arranged, because they're wrongly arranged. Now this is a very important instrument. It is always asked, because it is always used. And it is one needle holder which is not used now. I don't know why they kept it. You get a better one if you go somewhere else, but that's not a problem. This is a stainless steel instrument with rings at the back. It is longish handle. There are 2 ratchets and a screw joint. The moment you say screw joint, he'll ask you, is there any other joint? You say box joint. The moment you say box joint, is there any other joint? It's screw joint. What's the disadvantage of this? So the thread gets stuck in this. So why are they using it? Nobody uses it. Now, to hold it, there are various grips. But the important thing is to go further down, because I described a blade there. Here also I'm describing the blade. It has got serrations and a little slit in it. Now that has got a reason. If I hold the needle with a straight artery forceps, which a lot of you do when you go to gynae, because a lot of them do it, so that's a problem. If you hold a needle in a hemostat, then you don't get a needle holder. You start holding with this. Am I right? This is the needle. You can all see, don't worry. I'll repeat everything again. So pay attention. This is it. Now, this axis is neutralized, but not this one. Because the serrations are only transverse. There's only one axis of cut. So the needle would sit there, but it will be able to move this way. So the grip is not adequate. You are not able to hold the needle in a steady position. So my solution to the problem is, either I make the serrations crisscross so that I have all the axis covered, or I have a slit where the needle can sit. But ideally, in good instruments, I have both. That's why I'm saying it is substandard needle holder. But at least it has slit. So what that will do is, the needle would sit there, and that hole or that groove would prevent it from shifting. So this is for a steady grip of the needle. No rocket science there. Transfer serrations, needle, axis, one axis is neutralized, the other axis is not. How do I neutralize the other axis? I either make the serrations crisscross, or I put a slit, or I have both, and that will take care of it. Now, rest is very simple. How do I hold the needle? They haven't got a thread here, otherwise I would have shown you. I showed in my skill workshop. Got a needle, suture. I'll show you with the suture how do you grip it, because that's important. And suture is kept in the exam. I don't know why I didn't kept it there. Remove them. Anyway, now try to understand now. The needle and thread. ऊपर एक suture लेके आ जा दीपक. अच्छा, you got it. रुक जाओ. Don't worry. Now, first of all, how do you open the wrapper? Suture is also kept in the exam. You open it by finding where the slit is. Where did you? Looks like a stolen thing. That's why it is a very funny man. This is it. Okay, let's assume this is the suture and it is not stolen. So this is your suture. Don't worry, she managed to get it. I can show you. This is a suture. Suture. किसी को बोल दे ऊपर से लेके दे जाएगा. किसी को फोन करके बोलो वहाँ से सूचना दे जाएगा. Okay, I've got it. रुक जा. Where is the needle holder? Here. Now, I'll hold it at the junction of 1/3 to 2/3. That's what I wanted to show you. The 1/3 towards the swage. Swage is where the thread is attached. So, it is 1/3 towards the swage. Close the door. And 2/3 towards the tip. Now, why should we hold 1/3? Sometimes people hold it half-half. The reason for holding 1/3, 2/3 is it allows you space to maneuver the needle. And it is steady now. Now, if I have to take a bite, I'll take a bite twice the depth of the wound away. That is, the depth is 5 millimeter. We take a 1 centimeter away bite. And not more than that distance from the previous bite. So that's the principle of suturing. So we are asked a question, now I put a bite and it's over. Now how did it help me? Because I could negotiate the needle more easily. So 1/3, 2/3 is the ideal grasp. It is called grafting the needle. And the end towards the thread is called?
Swage.
Repeat.
Swage.
And this is the tip. And in between the curved thing is called the body. Needle has 3 parts. Apex, tip, body, swage. So swage is where you will hold it close to 1/3, that is close. In very small needles, you can hold it right in the center, especially in vascular surgery, where you need a better control. And the bite is small. How far you take a bite in the skin? Twice the depth of the wound. What is the usual depth of the wound? 5 millimeter. So most of the time the correct answer is 1 centimeter. But it won't be true in children. So don't use 1 by 1 centimeter. Otherwise it's 1 by 1 for you to remember. 1 centimeter away from the edge and not more than 1 centimeter from the previous bite. This is needle holder. Is that clear? No problem with that? Stainless steel instrument, rings at the back, ratchets, more than one. Even needle holder has more than one. It doesn't have to catch anything, it has to catch needle. Why? Longevity. You can't crush the needle. But if you use 2 ratchets with an artery forceps on bowel, on soft tissue, then you will crush the hell out of the tissue, which is wrong. Because you leave a dead tissue. That's what you need to learn. Clear? Clear to all? Needle holder and needle are done. We move on to the, now I'm holding the forceps, so I'll finish now. Remember, again, no name. There are 2 instruments which look very similar. One has got teeth, the other has no teeth. That's it. So one is a plain forceps, the other is a tooth forceps. How difficult? With or without teeth. Now I'll describe one at a time. How would I describe it in the exam? Because this is an exam class. It is a stainless steel instrument, needless to say. Or even if you skip that, that's not a problem. It's an instrument with 2 blades and the most important thing, the spring, which is here. So it's a spring-loaded instrument. What do we call it?
Spring-loaded.
You say it's a stainless steel spring-loaded instrument. The purpose of spring-loading is the instrument has a memory. Spring-loaded. And the spring is here. The memory is, if I use it and I leave it, it goes back to its position. Now that can be used, if you're clever, for dissection. That's why people call it dissecting forceps. You heard me say in the theatre Martin forceps. That's a bigger dissecting forceps made by Martin company. So there's no that forceps is not here. That's my personal forceps. Now, How do I describe this instrument? I'm repeating. Spring-loaded stainless steel instrument with fenestrations. 2 blades that have got transfer serrations. Can you see, or you're just trying to note down? Can you see the serrations? These are the serrations. Transfers. So wherever there is fenestration, remember that's the place to hold it. That's why there are fenestrations. I mean, those fenestrations are for a goofy, this is the place, hold it here. This is the place, hold it here. But still hold it somewhere else. This is the grip. Now there are 2 grips which are used. One is what you see here. It's a classical grip, which is conventional. The forceps is held between thumb and index finger, which are resting on fenestrations. The spring is resting on the first web space. There are serrations at the tip. And to make it function, I'll have to make the spring function. When I leave it, it goes back. So if I put it in the tissue, it will splay the tissue. That will help me in dissection. So we'll have the layers played each time we can put in a forceps. That's how we call it dissecting forceps. Now this is without teeth. So naturally it can be used on soft structures. It is not going to cause as much damage as this one, which is absolutely similar description, but there are teeth. Now, do not say this is atraumatic, this is traumatic. This is traumatic, it is relatively less traumatic. Because even this has got transfer serrations. These transfer serrations will also hurt. So this is I'm repeating, for this it will be a repetition. It's a spring-loaded stainless steel instrument with fenestrations for the side, for the point for grip, with transfer serrations and the tooth at the tip for holding tough structures, skin, fascia, which will dig into it. There was a study published long ago that this is not atraumatic. How? They use this instrument in holding skin, and this holding in skin, this in holding skin in another group. So there were 2 randomized groups. They found the amount of pressure you have to apply to hold the skin with a plain forceps. This is called plain dissecting forceps. This is a tooth forceps. So much for the name. So they found out that if you use plain forceps to hold the tissue, the amount of pressure that you need to apply to hold that tissue is enough, good enough or bad enough to produce skin necrosis. So it is more traumatic than this if you use it at a wrong place. That's why you must have seen people use it. They keep holding it. The wrist is under stress. The tissue is also getting crushed. It has to be used between the thumb and the index finger, resting on the first web space, and you can see that you're not locked with it. You control the instrument rather than the other way around. The other grip which is not to be used is a kitchen grip. The problem with this grip is, I hold it, so if I have to rotate the instrument, I rotate with it. With this, if I have to rotate the instrument, I can rotate like this. So I control the instrument. Same drill which I showed you here. Ring. Go here, you're stuck. Can't come out, and you hold it and pull up. That's not done. Tooth, forceps, plain forceps. Very simple name. Do not see any instruments after this. If you see instruments after this, then actually there's a problem you want. Simple, plain forceps, tooth forceps, fenestrations, transfer serrations. Less traumatic, more traumatic. Tough structures, vital structures. Tough structures, skin, fascia, muscle. Soft structures, blood vessels, peritoneum, bowel. Is that done? Both have a spring here, which gives it a memory. So it tends to go back to its position. each time that you leave it. Each time that you leave it. So this is a spring-loaded plain forceps, tooth forceps. Is it clear to all?
Yes, sir.
Everybody?
Yes, sir.
Even those standing in the remote corner, the northeast. Clear? You can see that? Is that clear to you? Plain forceps, tooth forceps. Done. Now, there are certain similar looking instruments which I'll take after I finish with the basic instruments. There's only one scissors. Well, so forceps done, artery forceps done, needle holder done. Now we move on to the next instrument, which is for cutting. Now this is a stainless steel instrument, big deal, with rings at the back, no ratchets. Box joint and a screw joint. Straight and curved. Cutting blades. Have I said anything special? They are there. And that's what you have to say. This is a surgical scissors. The term is surgical scissors. Straight and curved. No name. Name is wrong. This is Steely's, by the way. This is Mayo's, but they are not. Somebody who's clever can say, no, this is not Steely's. Sleeker looking, longer blade is Steely's. Well, why did I say surgical scissors? Because they're scissors used by barbers, tailors, everybody. Now, specifically for surgeons, when they're creating scissors, they have to put the fulcrum towards the tip. The closer the fulcrum to the tip, more controlled and sharper the cut. Tailor scissor and barber scissor has fulcrum in the center. That doesn't mean a barber can't make his instrument better. So some barbers have this with special types, 6-7 scissors they pick up, although they cut the same way. The fulcrum is for the lower, small, etc. Now the whole purpose is to make you understand that surgical scissors would not have fulcrum in the center. Clear? Now it's got rings at the back, no ratchets. I will introduce the classical way if you're holding it. Ring finger just about distal to the terminal interphalangeal joint. Same thing. I'm repeating it. Just about distal to the terminal interphalangeal joint of the thumb, supported on the middle finger. This is almost like a steady grip. Now, remember, we don't have Bart Parker handle here. We don't have knife. But if suppose there was a Bart Parker handle, and if you're holding onto it, I'll try and get it and show it to you. You should have kept it, that's basic. If I'm holding it like this, the knife cuts from a point to your left to a point to your right, and or from a point away from you to a point towards you. Any other way, if you're using knife, it's your problem. That's not the correct way to do it. What did I say? Yes, she.
A knife cuts from a point away from you to a point towards you.
I'll use the word blade. The blade cuts from a point away from you to a point towards you, or from a point to your left to a point to your right. And scissors is just the opposite. Right to left, close far. Anything else done is your problem. That's not the correct way of doing it. Learn one correct expression, then you can modify. Now, so when I was talking about scissors, it will cut from a point on my right to a point on my left. So I'm doing a shadow cut. If I have to cut it from point A to point B, it goes like this. The advantage I have is the tip is looking at me or looking up, so the elbow doesn't have to move. If the tip was away from me, to keep the incision straight, I'll have to keep bending over the patient, so I'll be all over the place. So to facilitate that, there is curvature in the blade. So that you can see what you cut. You can cut what you see, which I told you. So curvature, what is the correct position to hold the scissors? Just about distal to the terminal interphalangeal joint of the thumb, ring finger, supported on the middle finger, from a point to your right, to a point to your left, from a point close to you, to a point away from you, and we cut from right to left by looking at the tip. So the scissors is used with tip up or tip looking at you. Tip going away from you is a wrong way to use it. And you also know why. Because if you know why, you'll know. Then why have straight scissors? Why not have all curved? If you're cutting sutures, two threads have been put very close to each other, knots. I have very little space and I want a straight cut. Or I want to cut a suture, I need a straight scissors. 99% times I'll use a curved scissors. So what am I doing with my curved scissors? Exactly what I was doing with my splay forceps, dissecting scissors. This is a dissecting scissors. Because I can dissect with it. Yeah? Which one is superior in terms of cutting? Blade or scissors? Scissors. Scissors. Blade. Blade. Scissors. Scissors. How many for scissors? How many for blade? Some are others for third one? We are asking only two things. Absolutely. Well, I know why you're saying scissors. We're talking about it. But that's not correct. Remember, any instrument which has got two blades will crush and then cut. And I've already told you the problem with crushing. Too much crushed tissue is dead tissue, which will cause infection. It's bad. So, blade is superior to scissors. Simply when you talk in terms of cutting, then you should have only blade. But in the depth, especially in curvature, you will use scissors. But the more important role of scissors is dissection. But whenever you're using it for dissection or for cutting, the tip should look at you or tip should look up. Is that clear? So it is an instrument with, it's made of steel, two rings at the back, there's a screw joint, two blades, curvature. I'll just introduce my thumb distal to, terminal interphalangeal joint and ring terminal interphalangeal joint, and I'll hold it, and whenever I'm using scissors, I'll support it with my other hand. Why? Because otherwise there are tremors. So this is the way we teach our residents to cut. And please do remember that one-liner for cutting. See what you cut, cut what you see. Most of the disasters are on account of this. You tie something like ureta, or you cut something like CBD, they're not being seen. If you see, why would you cut? So that is why instruments have been prepared in such a way. To tie what you see, you've got a curved hemostat. To cut what you see, you've got a curved scissors. Am I clear? So there are two types, straight and curved. Curved are the dissecting scissors, for obvious reasons. Describe this instrument loudly. Use the same template, don't worry.
This is a stainless steel instrument with two rings at the back with multiple ratchets. So we will use one, and there are two blades at the end with curve with transverse serrations, and it has a box joint. And it's curved.
It's curved. So she's more or less said it. I'll just add what I have to add. It's got a tooth in front. That's where it is different from a hemostat or an artery forceps. If the tooth was missing, what would be your diagnosis?
So
It's
this
a
is a
long.
long artery.
Now the difference here is this tooth in the at the tip. Please look at it carefully, don't just ignore it. This is coccus, curved hemostat, or coccus, curved artery forceps. Give it any name, say coccus. So why have this? You also have something similar in gynecology. They use it, Walson,
Cocker.
but it's the same instrument. They just puncture the membrane with it.
Yes.
Why? You don't know. The advantage is it'll just hold that, and you don't cut blindly. As it holds, it hooks it, and as it hooks, you can't damage anything deep. That's the purpose. But how? Why did it come into existence? I'll tell you. If I have to hold an instrument with an artery forceps, I'm holding it. I'm holding a pedicle. There is a chance that I might slip. So he ensured that he doesn't. Those days people would just clamp and cut. There was no hemostat. Those days there was no diathermy. One, it is not going to go anywhere. Plus it's not going to slip out. If there is a lock here. So this lock is what makes it coccus. And that makes it is traumatic 100%. It is actually more than traumatic. One, it will crush the hell out of the tissue, the remaining one will be sorted out by the tooth. Okay? So if you by mistake apply it and somebody's finger comes in, you actually killed it. It's such a bite, very, 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 very traumatic. So it's used for purpose of locking a grip of a pedicle, or you can hold on to a tissue, it's going nowhere. But this tissue has no business to be inside the body anymore. It's going out, so you held it, it's going nowhere. See, I'm holding. I've just put one reaction, and it's a useless one. These are all discarded ones. That's coccus artery forceps. With a
Tooth.
tooth, not tooths,
Tooth.
one tooth. If they're more, it'll be teeth, right? Transfer serration, she didn't say anything. And this is to just ensure everything else she's described, so I won't repeat it. So coccus artery forceps, coccus hemostat, coccus forceps. Cocker was, his full name was Theodore Cocker. You'll be asked. These are names that come out. Theodore Cocker was the first surgeon to get a Nobel Prize. Cockers did a lot of work with thyroid. Therefore, there's a coccus dissector there, coccus incision there, coccus position there. But he didn't get Nobel Prize for surgery of thyroid. He got Nobel Prize for physiology of thyroid, because he found out parathyroids and hypothyroids. For surgery, he didn't. That's coccus. This, describe this loudly. Don't waste my time. Don't.
This is a stainless steel instrument with two rings at the end, two ratchets, out of which we're supposed to use only one. It has two blades and a box joint, and it has transverse serrations at the end. With
I'm waiting. So what is it?
so it's a straight artery forceps.
So who will say that? You carry somebody with you. Finish it. Straight. What size?
Medium.
That completes the answer. Well done, good work. Now, nothing different here. I've just taught you the art of talking about instruments. It's not just pick up somebody and this is this, this is this. That's not the way. Or take pictures from internet and try to know. That's not instrument description. Instrument is to describe. Nobody gets angry if you find a wrong name, but your description should be correct. It's a stainless steel instrument with rings at the back. With the ratchet, you would have more than one, suggesting that I should use only one. There is a box joint, and there are two. What is it? Let's hear your expression. Don't worry, you can be wrong. It's on me.
Hollow blades.
CBD. They are hollow blades, which may have a broader curvature than this. We'll see more. But there's space in between, which is to accommodate for more. This is Babcock's forceps. When you say Babcock's forceps, Babcock is the name of the surgeon. Babcock's tissue forceps. So tissue is the Babcock's tissue. Where is it used? It is very obvious that it can be used for only selective areas. One is you can use it as a stay for anything which is smaller than this, which can be anything: vas, ureter, fallopian tube, CBD. CBD is large, don't say yes to that. Ureter, vas, fallopian tube, or anything that can fit in, and more importantly, appendix, which is what they want to hear. So that they can ask you, have you seen an appendicectomy? That's how it starts. Now, how does it hold an appendix? In between the hollow space, so that it is non-traumatic. Incorrect. Relatively less traumatic. Because the tip would still be traumatizing. You can hold with this. Okay? Now, the cousin is totally different. Same description so far. There is hollow space, but the teeth. Babcock's tissue holding forceps, Alice tissue holding forceps. Alice tissue holding forceps is named after Harold Ellis, and this instrument has stronger grip than this, but it is relatively less traumatic. So if there is anything vital I have to hold, I'll hold with this. If there is any tough structure that I can dispense with that I have to hold, I'll hold with an Alice forceps, because this would traumatize. So do not hold an appendix with this. It will burst, it will rupture. You hold it with this, and I can actually hook it like this. Can you see that? It's an appendix in my grip. But if appendix is larger than this, don't quote me and hold it, then you'll damage it. There is no space. So use that common sense, which is so uncommon. Try to use it where it can accommodate that size. By and large you can, but there are larger appendices where you'll use a slightly larger, the Lane's tissue holding forceps. I think what I have lost instruments. Lane's tissue holding. Look at the tip. It will damage. It's got a sliding joint, ratchet, screw joint, two concave spaces with some space to expand. It is a Lane's tissue holding forceps. If somebody calls it a towel clip, he's doing a mistake. There are three sizes: small, medium, large. This is a small. Rest have disappeared. I described it along with LS forceps, but don't think I'm trying to rush through it. I wanted you to understand all three with cups, so that you don't call them names. I mean, I have seen it. This has been called Alice, this has been called Babcock, this has been called Alice. It's a mistake. Alice and Lane's are traumatic. You can see them. Babcock's in the center. Babcock's is atraumatic. It has space, slightly more space than Alice. If you notice, this has the largest space, and I would use it for holding a tough structure. Like if a tumor is coming out, I'll hold like this so that it doesn't get traumatized also, but my grip is solid and I can hold on to it. Okay? And it allows for more space to be kept, to be inside. Sometimes you can even hold a little sling in it. See, my finger can also, for grip. But be careful with the trauma that the tip can produce. Lane's tissue holding forceps, Alice tissue holding forceps. It has got teeth which bite, that's for grip, and the Babcock's forceps, which has got curved ends of the blade to accommodate for any viable tissue which is vital. You don't want to damage it. These are the three instruments which you should know. They are asked. Any doubt with this?
No,
I've
sir.
described them together so that you remember them together. The disadvantage actually. These are old instruments. Now lanes come. The question is good. You see, with this curvature and this size, we cannot have a box joint. But it's not an advantage. Here we are not going to use a thread. I'll tell you what is the problem of a screw joint. Classic problem. You're going in the depth and you held a tissue. I want to put a knot now. If thread goes in, then it gets stuck here. I struggle. So screw joint is an older version. Even in other instruments and tools that you use for a car now and other places, they have got rid of the screw joint because this traps the thread. So there's no advantage, but perhaps my guess is this is small. It's too small to have that sophisticated box. So they've done it with a screw joint. Is that okay? Usually it's a larger lanes that may have a box joint. Slight modifications of the hemostats. You can see this. Just like this. Just like this. Just speak what comes to your mind.
So it is a stainless steel instrument with 2 rings at the back, 3 edges at the back, with a box joint and 2 blades which are curved with transverse serrations.
You got 50%, although you had no clue as to what it is. So that's what I meant. Now we are talking about those who want to score more. Everything the same, it's heavier. It's long. It's got a curvature. Rings at the back, 3 ratchets. The fact they have 3, we need to use 1. The 3 are for the longevity. And there is a box joint. It slides in neatly. You can see that's a long instrument. Box needs this much of space, so that won't have it. And the curvature is important, which you didn't mention. It is curved. It is something you see. Can you see something here? There's a hole here. Now this hole is, a lot of people would not know. Therefore, I'm showing you. It is actually whenever you find a hole, know that it's a pedicle clamp. What they were doing is they clamp it, put a bite, and through the hole the thread would come on the other side. They'll tie it here also. They just call it as a curved, or somebody will call it cholecystectomy forceps. But be prepared for that somebody else. So don't say something. He says, no, it's a cholecystectomy forceps. Very much so. It's a cholecystectomy forceps or a silly hole here for no reasons. Right? Because it's a wrong answer. Cholecystectomy forceps is similar, but it doesn't have a hole. I would not get you into trouble. So what would I do? I've told you the truth. And I'll tell you the one that works. It's a long artery forceps, just curved. It's got a slit here, which is to accommodate for the thread. Sir, I think it's a pedicle clamp, but it can also be used for cholecystectomy to pass the thread. Some people call it a right angle mixter. This is more like a right angle mixter, M-I-X-T-E-R. But if you understand, you would understand, I'm sure, there is no reason to have that slit here, that hole. You understood the reason. How? I'll tell you. I'm not trying to confuse you. This is the pedicle. I've got it in my grip. This is a splenic pedicle, this is spleen. Now I have to transfix it. I'll take a bite, tie on one side, and then the thread can go, or the needle can go through that opening. And I'm on the other side already, and then I'll release my clamp. That's the advantage. But it's heavy. Anything so heavy is not for dissection. It's a clamp. And it's curved, we'll call it a long curved clamp with transverse serrations. So naturally it is crushing. It has got a slit there. If they ask you, talk about it. Otherwise stay quiet. This is a medium to long sized, no, stainless steel instrument with the rings at the back, ratchets here. I need to use one with a screw joint, with a box joint, and transfer serrations and an angle at the tip. It can be a right angle, but it's not right angle. Classically, a mixture is right angle. They're calling it a mixture, I know, because I know from the feedback. Some of the people I've taught are teaching now, so they come back and tell me. Now this is a right angle forceps. So what is it used for? For feeding the thread. See? Sorry, can you pick it up, please? Thank you. Now, I'll go under the tissue after dissection, and I'll be fed a thread. I'll take the thread over. So it serves the purpose of tying the structure. Dissection. Clear to all? Clear? Don't rely on each other's notes. Understand yourself. Stainless steel instrument, rings at the back, ratchets, box joint, curvature at the tip. Can be called a mixture. This angle allows for feeding. Can be used for cholecystectomy. Have you seen it being used anywhere? Say yes. In cholecystectomy for feeding the thread, for cystic duct, cystic artery, etc. Can it be used for holding the tissue also? Otherwise, there won't be transfer serration. Yes. The answer is yes. What would I do with the right angle? I use smaller right angles for thyroid surgery and for other surgery. You must have seen. I'll dissect with that, then I'll hold with that one. That's the job. One more instrument. Now I am asking you. Okay. It is an interesting looking instrument, and as soon as you see this, you be clear it's not meant for any dissection. Why should you have such a fancy thing for dissection? Then people ignore, they don't see. Look at the blade. What do you see in the blade? What do you see here?
Groove.
So this is transfer serrations. Interesting, very clever piece of work. And there is a slit in the center. So it kind of becomes a 2-in-1 clamp. So structure is held twice. You could have 2 blades, or you could have 1 slit. So it's a clamp. It will always be a pedicle clamp. You don't need it for dissection. Don't get confused. But confuse the examiner. Stainless steel instrument, rings at the back, 3 or 4 ratchets. Look at this. Why 4? Because here you may need to get the clamp sorted, the pedicle sorted. With the screw joint. Because you're not going to tie anything. And a box joint is never stronger than a screw joint. Remember that. This fulcrum is fixed. It's too crude. That's why it's not used. And you have curved blades with transfer serrations and a slit in the center. Right through. So it becomes kind of 2 blades in one. That is a pedicle. Clear? This curvature allows. Why curvature? Common sense. Why curvature? See what you cut, tie what you see. No. Next. There's nothing to do with that. Look. There's no cut. Curve. There is curvature.
Negotiate on an anatomical terms.
Okay, and
So to enter pedicles which are behind my
no, but that's clever thinking. You're not wrong completely. Don't worry. That's a pedicle. Straight out of here. Give me a straight. Let him do it. Let him do it. It will not fall. Okay. I can use this as a clamp also. There's no problem. Clamp. Can you see that? I've clamped the tissue. If I'm very close, clamped. I have limited space to tie. And I'll have to take a bite from it. I'm showing the other ones. It's a broader tissue plus short stocking. It gives that space. So it buys me that extra space to put a needle on needle top. Everything has a reason. So this is not going to be effective. I need that curvature. This curvature is to allow me to put a bite or suture. So that, when it digs in, it gives me more tissue. Clear? Better clamp. So this is a pedicle clamp. Done? Oh yes. Just stick to the template. Don't mess it up.
This is a stainless steel instruments with rings at the back, 2 rings at the back, ratchets, 2 blades, 3 teeth are at the anterior.
You're just doing the counting.
The multiple teeth.
This is a stainless steel instrument with 2 rings at the back with multiple ratchet. Therefore, we'll use one. It has a box joint, and there are 2 curved blades with multiple teeth present anteriorly
What is it?
at the tip.
Distal.
Sir,
What was this?
Long.
this was an Alice forceps. Alice just showed
Long curved Alice, which is called walls. Now the big deal is valsalem is some other instrument. As it goes to tiny changes in behavior. Now, this is Alice, tissue holding forceps. With a long curved Alice, you'll still be alright. We don't need valsalem here. But why do they have valsalem like this? I've taught you. Why is it so? Why do they need this?
Pedicle.
You need to hold the upper lip, no? It's easier to hold like this and then lift up.
Yes.
It gives you that curvature and also traction. It is just an Alice forceps which has been modified for holding the cervix, but it is used in surgery as much for holding the bladder neck, for holding the tissue. See the advantage. Just watch it. Watch it. I'm holding here. I'm straight, but as I lift it, it lifts up the whole thing because it's got an inherent curve, so I don't need to bend it as much. A straight one would need to be taken twice as much, and this is just rotating on itself. Well, the description of the instrument, repeating it, we missed a few points this time. It's a long steel instrument with rings at the back, which we'll use for holding, and I'll just put the thumb distal to terminal interphalangeal joint and the ring finger terminal interphalangeal joint here. It's got ratchets at the back, there are 3, so I'll use one. It's got a box joint and the curved blades with teeth at the tip, which make it traumatic. So I think this is a long curved Alice forceps or valsalem. Used for holding tough structures, for retracting tough structures, for elevating tough structures. Sorted? Who will describe this? Any volunteer?
Stainless steel instrument with 2 rings at the back, multiple ratchets, why use one, the box joint and blades having transfer sedation anteriorly and space anteriorly.
Not too bad. Not spring loaded, stainless steel instrument with rings at the back for putting my index and thumb just about distal to the terminal interphalangeal joint. Don't be lazy. Repeat it. Once you do it, it will not take that long. With more than one ratchet, so I'll use one. Box joint and blades with
Hollow.
hollow.
So there is a dilatation at the blade, which is hollow. Hollow and serrated.
Hollow and serrated tips. which are broadened. This is used for holding any tough structure. Gallbladder, cervix, tongue. Tongue is a tough structure, no? Part of the tongue which is going out. Otherwise, no tongue. Yes. But importantly, people use it for holding sponge. That's why it's called sponge holding forceps. Not a sponge holder, but its functions I've already told you. They'll ask you, is there something more than sponge that it holds? Gallbladder, any tough structure, fascia, muscles, anything can be. Clear? Rest of the description is pretty straightforward.
But so gallbladder doesn't have submucosa. So doesn't it become really a friable structure?
You've never seen a gallbladder being held in open surgery.
No.
It's quite a tough structure. And who told you it doesn't have submucosa? If it has mucosa, it has to have submucosa. If there is inspector, there is a sub-inspector. Sub means under. If there's something here, something empty space is there. It's not the kind of submucosa you have in the bowel. But it is that. It is there. It has to be there. Anyway, we're not going there. Don't waste time. It's for holding. Most commonly, you'll see it in surgical OT for using the sponge cleaning and draping, preparing. Second most common use is if you're seeing open cholecystectomy, it is used for holding gallbladder. Third common use is when but that organ has to go out. It is actually damaging, so you can't really use it for any vital structure. And you can't hold skin with this, although it's tough. Sponge holding forceps, no names. Otherwise it's Belvies, but don't use it. This is sponge. Now something similar. Any problem? You have. Stand up. Any issues? Anything not clear? Sit down. Now something similar. Otherwise you will get up here. I've seen you too. But I thought I'll tell him so that you understand. If there's something funny you can share. Good. I wish you had. Now this is a similar instrument, which is a stainless steel, which has got a ring. And what is this? An incomplete grip. No ratchets, heavy screw joint, and two concave. What do you see here?
Pits.
Beaded tips. Tip. The idea of these beads
Oh.
is for a better grip, but it will be traumatic. I'm repeating. This is an incomplete ring. It's a complete ring. There's a box joint. This is a concave blade, which has got, you can call them beads, you can call them serrations also. It's perfectly fine. It is used for holding something which is tough and as irregular or as slippery as a stone. So it is a cystolithotomy forceps. I have heard it in MS exam also, people calling it Desjardins forceps. Desjardins forceps is used for taking the stone out of a common bile duct. It's a very, very friable duct, very narrow, and the stones are very soft. This is for tough stones. It has to be for something as hard as a
Renal.
bladder stone. You know any bladder stone? How do you hold it? How can you hold it? Let's see. You hold it the way you want to hold it. Excellent. You're correct actually. Most people tend to hold it this way. It looks very natural to them. That's why I asked you. The three finger here, one here, and then they go. But the problem is, when we made the incision, when we opened the bladder is here, and this is the foot end, this is the head end, and you're on the right side. If you're on the left side, you can still introduce. On the right side, you can't. This is the grip. And the advantage of this grip is that you can go in, hold the stone, and negotiate it with subtle movement. You don't pull the stone out, it won't come out. Stone is stuck to the mucosa, and you have to deliver it through that little opening. That's where they'll ask you, have you ever seen it? Say if you have not seen it, it's okay. They'll ask you how do you identify bladder. I'll discuss with you in procedures. The bladder is identified after you reflected the peritoneum up by the blood vessels, the pattern of blood vessels, and by putting a syringe and needle and aspirating urine. After that, you put 2 stay sutures, lift up the bladder, make a stab incision, and then this is introduced. Stone is grasped. We deliver it this way. I'm showing you again, because if you hold it this way, you can't rotate the way you wanted it. Just gentle movements, clockwise, anti-clockwise, clockwise, and stone is delivered. So this is a cystolithotomy forceps. Give it no name. Describe the instrument and come to me. Okay? The other advantage of holding that way is you can't apply too much force. So you can't crush it. With this you can actually apply more force. The whole wrist comes in. Alice, clear? Alice tissue holding. We'll repeat them all. Very delicate looking instrument, steel instrument with curved at right angle step, 2 rings at the back, no ratchets, and a very sleek sliding box joint. That clearly means it's going to get into something very, very vital. Don't call it this Jardin's corticolithotomy forceps. Many of you have heard it in PGA, UGA, anytime. This Jardin's cannot be used in CVD because it has curvature, it can't enter that far. The same instrument, if it was straighter, almost like the curvature, straight one with slight curvature, that would be this Jardin's forceps. It is not there, so you don't worry. It has got tips which are again hollow with serrations. They hold on to, serrations would mean again tough stones. Where are the tough stones? Not in the gallbladder, not in the common bile. They are either in the bladder or in the kidney. So this is a nephrolithotomy forceps. Cystolithotomy, nephrolithotomy. There are 3 angles. One is straighter, then there is more acute. For the upper calyx, middle calyx, lower calyx. The angles are provided so that when you make an opening in the pelvis of the kidney, you would go in, sound it, get the stone out. So this is a nephrolithotomy. This is not pyelolithotomy because pyelolithotomy is without angle. Pylos means pelvis. So the stone in the pelvis won't need curvature. It's when you open up the pelvis, you need to get into the calyx. The lower calyx it can go. The upper calyx it can go. The middle one you can take out like this. So this can work for all 3. That's why it is shown. But it is a nephrolithotomy forceps. So far so good. All clear?
Yes,
Everybody?
sir. Yes, sir.
Those in the far corner there. Okay. Good. Now describe this instrument.
So this is a stainless steel instrument with 2 rings at the back, having 5 ratchets, and I'm supposed to use only 1. And it has a screw joint, and it has long blades with longitudinal serrations.
What is it?
Moynihan.
Finish all the finishes. They have 4 types. This is not Moynihan's wall clamp. Somebody was saying it. That's different. So call it simple intestinal clamps. It's a stainless steel instrument with 2 rings at the back for introduction of my thumb and ring finger. With multiple ratchets, don't have to count them. And I'm supposed to use only one. With the screw joint and long blades, which are curved with longitudinal serrations. This is the bowel clamp, which allows a little space in between, and it will not is usually in intestinal anastomosis for during perforation or obstruction. The bowel has edema, so if you use too much of pressure, it will undergo necrosis. And the blood supply is the key. So we'll use 1 ratchet, and this would not crush. That's the advantage. So the advantage is there's the straight and the curved one. Curved is not here, so you don't care. Show it sometime, don't bother. The curved one is to allow you the same advantage that you had in that pedicle clamp which I was showing you. So it'll get you to see more bowel. I think I showed it in the Mexican workshop where some of you attended. Those are the curved ones. They go on either side. And remember, when I have to put a clamp on the bowel, remember one principle which they ask you. One side is the mesenteric side and the other is the entire mesenteric side. Say this is the mesenteric side, that's the entire mesenteric. I should have more of mesenteric side and less of entire mesenteric. The reason is, if this is the bowel, that's the entire mesenteric, this is the mesenteric side, I need more of the blood supply. So my clamp would go this way. I'll not put the clamp this way. I'll not even put it vertical. Because then some part will suffer from blood supply. The blood supply is coming from the mesenteric side. And it goes like this. So there's a portion in the entire mesenteric side of the bowel which is most vulnerable for ischemic damage. And I'll avoid having more of that. I'll have more of this. That is mesenteric side. That's how I'll apply my clamps. We will say we have straight and curved clamps. And it is relatively less traumatic because it is
Space.
longitudinal serrations.
Longitudinal.
And there is space in between. The two similar looking instruments. This you see me using in thyroid surgery, skin hook. It doubles up as a nerve hook. And third, one more, it's also used in vascular surgery. Most people don't think about it. There's a slit here for grip. Now the threads that are used in vascular surgery are very, very tiny, very thin, and they're monofilaments. So they can be harvested with this. Each time that I take a bite, this can hook the... So multiple threads are lying on the hook before I pull them. Getting what I'm saying? Taken a bite, not tied in. Next, next. They all...
Accumulate.
Then we take 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is used for harvesting the thread from the depth. You can't see it, it's so narrow, it's so tiny. And monofilament sutures, they are very important, vital sutures, because if you pull them with artery forceps, they'll fracture. The sutures fracture. And you can't see that fracture because the sheath is intact. They are weak, so they give way. So this is the use for this. Otherwise it is used for nerve hooking or for skin hooking. So it has three functions. Hooking the nerve, the skin and also the vascular sutures. Don't touch it. Get it. Now this is a very interesting instrument, which is stainless steel instrument, and it has no serrations, rings. So you don't get into that flow. So that happens. This is a stainless steel instrument with 2 rings at the back, 2 ratchets, and then I can introduce my index finger and finger into it. There is a box joint and there are 2 blades. Where is it? So look at it also. Remember that. Look at it also. This is a stainless steel instrument which is flattened in the center. And center has got fenestration, that's for grip. Again, wherever there are fenestrations, grip. Wherever there are fenestration, they are for grip, to hold, so that you don't slip. Now, it has got a curved tip with a hole. It is passed under any tissue. So this is the blood vessel. I can negotiate with dissection around it, feed a thread, take through it. And commonly the surgery where we need to, so this is the vessel and it has undergone some dilatation here. I have to tie it. So what would I do? I dissect it here. I can use this right angle forceps also. Where is it gone? Be careful, don't get hurt. They do similar function, but you can see the difference. This is sleeker. So I can go under the vessel. I can feed. Both sides I lift up, tie. This is called aneurysm needle. It has got a name. So when you get this instrument, start looking at it completely. Don't call it a skin hook. Start with, therefore, this breathing time. Stainless steel instrument. Flattened middle with fenestrations. Curved tip with an eye. It's called an eye. It's an aneurysm needle. Used for dissecting aneurysm, feeding threads, cystic duct ligation, anything. Aneurysm needle. It's called. What is it called?
Aneurysm needle.
I've reinforced it. It has no needle there. That's why you're wondering. Look at the tip. Probably that's why they call it. You see, anything that is used for feeding, thread, and needling a thread, threading a needle. Which is the correct statement? Threading a needle. So this is getting threaded. That's why it's called a needle. A needle is not always to take a bite, but it will go across the tissue. So you thread aneurysm needle to go across. It's called aneurysm needle. Done? Now we have some retractors. And then some orthopedic instruments. They are not very difficult. Remember, this too is a stainless steel instrument which has got fenestrations here, and at right angles it's got a blade, and this is hollow, the handle is hollow, the blade has got a little hook. It's not flat. This is to retract, and this curve digs into the tissue, it's able to retract effectively. So therefore, when my assistant is retracting flat, I keep saying hook it. So the purpose is not this, otherwise there would be no hook here. It is to lift up. This is Langenbeck's retractor. Langenbeck. What did he do? He did the first cholecystectomy. Langenbeck did the first cholecystectomy. Now, he was using this to retract the liver. Morris, who was in his team, modified it even further. He broadened it. So it's a broadened Langenbeck, that's all. So look at it. It's called Morris. Morris is the second version. This is sleeker. This retracts the liver. Now, why this curvature? They sometimes put a little pad here, and the liver is retracted, so liver doesn't get damaged. Again, this curvature. Point. Why? It allows space. If this was flat, you lose that space. So it retracts and gives you space to work. It's very smartly done. This doesn't have it. It's flat. This is flat. This is broad and curved. So what it does is tissue goes away, and then you have space, tissue, you have extra tissue here. Vis-a-vis this, if the size was the same, this one would have some extra tissue presenting to you. Here the tissue is flatly. This is Morris retractor. Langenbeck's first. Where is it used? I showed them together so that you remember forever. This is used for retracting muscles, organs, not very deep. This one, gone. This is for deeper. This is for the deepest. This is Devers. D for deepest, D for deeper. The Devers retractor is for retracting the liver, the pelvis, the bladder, and what have you. Anything in the depth. This doesn't have a flat thing here, which you see in Doyens when you go to gynae, where they need to suture in the depth. So somebody did it. Doyens was a surgeon, by the way. There was a use of Doyens in cystectomy. Those days cesareans were done by surgeons. So there is a curvature there. Devers retractor for deep abdominal retraction. Liver, bladder, gallbladder, whatever. Morris. For deep retraction, this is the deepest. Retracting liver, you can put a pad here, protecting liver, and this is used in cholecystectomy or liver resections or any surgery where you don't have to go too deep. You can retract anything with it. It's not that you will only do what is taught. It can retract only this deep. These are 3 retractors killed with one bullet. So how do you describe it? It's a stainless steel curved retractor with a hook at the back. It's got deep blades for deep retraction. Stainless steel instrument, heavy, with a hollow space here, fenestrations here for the grip. It also reduces the weight when you make it hollow. It has got a curvature here and a curvature here. This is to hook up and retract. And it can also be used for padding with gauze piece or something to protect the lever. And the space here is for
So take a suture.
very stainless steel instrument with fenestrations for grip and at right angle. Sometimes you get it along. This is Langenbeck's retractor, which is again got a hook here, but it can only hold a small piece. Retracting the
Muscle.
not so deep structures, muscles, fascia, and sometimes bowel will be used according to its name. This is interesting. What is it? Stainless steel instruments with blade at one end, which is curved at right angle with the hook here, and two what will you call them? Hooks, and a slit in the center to make it lighter, and also for the grip. This is Zerny's retractor. How do you spell it? CZERNY. This is used for even more superficial retraction. Why have this? Anybody who answers this?
Opposite way.
So in herniatomy.
In between we can see the suture.
Very good. It is basically Zerny's came into use for suturing the rectus sheath. Now, if you retract with this, you can't see beyond. There's nothing visible. And we have to take a bite beyond if you've all seen mask closure. So you can't see the needle coming out. So very smartly, this is being used. You can actually see the needle come back. It is doing the same job as this while providing space here. And you can see the needle going in, going out, coming out, and you can probe. Secondly, you need only one side. So makes it lighter. And then these hooks can retract better. So many a time we use this rather than this side. Especially when you're starting to close the rectus sheath from above and you're doing the mask closure. Because my first bite would be inside out, outside in, and I tie a knot inside. Now with this, I can take the needle, but I can't see the needle now. You can because you're there. I can't. And then I have to come back. Again, can't see. You can. As it comes out, already damaged something. With this, I can. I don't care whether you can or you can't, because I can now. Inside out, outside in, I can tie the knot and actually see the knot. So wherever I need to see things and yet retract this end, where I don't, the only disadvantage is you can puncture into things. You've got to be careful. While this is very, very handy. It's one of the most commonly used instruments. Superficial surgery mostly, but rectus sheath is not superficial. This deep. It's common sense how deep you can use them. Depends on the blade and depends on the depth that you want to use it. This is Zerny's retractor. One more retractor, which is very similar to this is I told you.
Down.
This is actually a part of the self-retaining. No. Human intestine won't need it. Too small for that. It is self-retaining for abdomen. And this goes down with one more squeeze. It's all broken, so don't worry about it. Not this. There is a similar thing I'm trying to explain. There is a screw here also. Okay? So this goes down, it takes the bladder down. This is chest wall retractor. I'm using it to show. There's a self-retaining abdominal retractor also, which is not here. you're watching me do the APR that day, I was using self-retaining. Self-retaining is slightly bigger blades because naturally you need to go to the pelvis. And this is used by putting a screw here. So you can slide it. Doins. And if you use it, they don't sell them separately now because they all come as one package. You can use one part, the other part. So this is self-retaining and bladder retraction. So this is Doins. Stainless steel instrument with a slit in the center, a curved hook here for grip. And the interesting thing vis-a-vis Morris is it is broader than it's deep, and it's deeper here for curvature. Purpose is the same. It is used for retracting bladder. Now the self-retaining usually will have this system of spring. Can you see the blades? Guess what it is?
Bladder. So bladder.
It's a bladder, self-retaining retractor. Actually, it's Millens. Don't call it Millens, I've already told you. So it's a self-retaining bladder retractor used for prostate surgery, which is no longer done open. So you open the bladder, this goes in. You do the, where is that? Stone holding. Sister cut. There it goes. The bladder is open. And it goes in. Stone, felt, taken out. And we are done. Closed. Millen self-retaining bladder retractor or self-retaining bladder retractor used for prostate surgery. Not used now. Sometimes when you're doing open radical prostatectomy, not otherwise. But you know the instrument now. Now, the chest related stuff. Before that, bone related stuff. Here, things got hidden. Let me know before it is 4 because this place is totally dominated by the class 4 employees. Man sitting in the office is no control. Now let's look at bone. You saw it being used the other day. I was doing the arm soft tissue sarcoma. This is a Ferguson periosteal. Remember, in the subperiosteal space, there is nothing. The entire orthopedic surgery is about reaching the periosteum, cutting the periosteum, going under the periosteum. Under that you can do whatever you like. Nothing is there. So everything which is covered with periosteum, every bone, this is used. And how do you use it? No other way. This comes in your hand. This is the grip. Thumb on this. And I will actually use it to get the periosteum. Not the other way around. Something similar is another funny periosteum elevator. So you have understood? It's a stainless steel instrument with fenestrations, curvature, and a sharp end. This is a Ferguson's periosteum elevator. Where is it used? Whenever we are doing surgery on bone. Removing the soft tissue, periosteum from the bone, bearing the bone, and then you can carry on with nailing, plating, amputation. What? Periosteum, incidentally, is the only sensitive part of the bone. Otherwise, bone you can hammer, do whatever. So the bone is insensitive, so other people dealing with it. You can keep hammering. Now, periosteum gets elevated, and then they hammer the hell out of it. Then nail up, nail down, 4 people pulling it, and the bone doesn't. The moment it's periosteum, it's painful. That's the way. That's to just make you understand. I didn't mean it in the sense you would understand. Bone is insensitive. People dealing with it can be sensitive. Now this is Ferguson's. If I have to do the elevation of periosteum on the rib, I cannot use this because the rib has periosteum all around. So they modified it. This is a rib respiratory, not respiratory. Respiratory. RASPA. RATORY. Now, you will hold it like this And how will you know which side it is?
Tip point.
You hold it in your right hand. Where is it going? Tip away. So it's the wrong position. This belongs to the left hand. The tip should look at you. That's the same principle. So I'll make a small cut, introduce this under the periosteal, and I'll go getting the sensitive part of the rib out, and then the rib can be cut. This is a rib respiratory for grip at both sides. Tip should be looking at you.
But sir, if I rotate it 180 degrees, then the
You
tip.
will have to then be upside down. How would you do the surgery?
Sir, like in this instrument, if you hold it in your right hand and
I've understood the question, so I would save time. This is the rib. I will have to make a cut. Now I am introducing like this. How do I work? It's on the right side, which is not left side. I made a cut. This is how it
okay.
goes. Okay. Now what are we asking? Rib respiratory. Once you've made an incision, you've done a thoracotomy, you made an incision. There are two types: anterior thoracotomy, posterior lateral thoracotomy. Anterior is from sternal, lateral sternal point to the anterior axillary line, and anything beyond that is posterior or lateral. For most thoracotomies, for the lungs, for the esophagus, for the mediastinum, it's posterior lateral. For only cardiac surgery, it's anterior lateral. So posterior lateral goes right up to the scapular margin. You cut through all the layers, you reach the rib, make an incision in the rib, put this. You can use one for both, but the correct way I show you. You can always do the wrong way, that's not a problem, if that's what you're suggesting. Don't ask me what does the left-handed do. It's also a possibility. I'm holding my right hand, or what a left hand. Left-handed would hold the other way. Okay? This you should learn. Is an easier way. It has to be dragged rather than pushed. That's what I'm trying to say. If you can stand on your head and do it, it doesn't matter, as long as it happens. Now, once you got the rib bared, you cut the rib. How do we cut it? We have bone cutters. This is the bone cutter. Why do you call it a bone cutter? It's a stainless steel heavy instrument with